Our lunchtime news broadcast highlights the news making waves ranging from current affairs, community stories, sports, and economic news. Here are the headlines. Swapo gives LPM ultimatum over fired councillors. Swakopmund shack fire claims 3 lives. And Vivendi's Canal Plus submits offer to acquire South Africa's Multichoice. I am Glenora Shipura, and this is NMH at 1. In our midday news update, a shack caught fire on Wednesday just past midnight in the DRC location in Swakopmund, claiming the lives of 3 people, according to a report issued by Warrant Officer Tashia Tuye Nikelao. 3 people, a 32-year-old woman and her daughters aged 2 and 6 years old respectively, lost their lives when their shack caught fire while they were asleep. It is alleged that the deceased was last seen by her neighbor buying something at a local tuck shop. Sometime later, the same neighbor allegedly detected flames from the deceased shack and rushed to her rescue, but wasn't able to break the door open until the fire had covered the entire shack. The cause of the fire is still unknown. Moving on to visual news, we highlight local stories from across Namibia. Right after the break, we get into this. Stay with NMH at 1.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
Getting into our visual news, Rolf Hansen, the CEO of the Cancer Association of Namibia, says that a globally observed surge in cancer has led the organization to keeping its interim home, House Acacia, open 7 days a week. Let's take a look.
So basically, after a lot of consultation with our medical stakeholders, especially the team at Windhoek Central Hospital, we have realized that there is a huge need for keeping our doors open over weekends as well. Historically, cancer treatment went Monday morning through Friday morning, and then patients were sent home in the weekends. But because of the huge crisis, not only in Namibia but globally as well, the need for cancer treatment, the cancer treatment centers are now starting to operate over weekends, and as of this year, treatment will continue on Saturdays and Sundays as well. So we ask ourselves as Cancer Association this year the question, what can we do better to make it better for our patients? The global theme for World Cancer Day is still close the care gap. What can we all do to make it better for our patients and to care better? And it was a very natural process for us to revisit our support models, our funding models, as well as our support models during 2023 to be able to implement these changes and keep our doors open over the weekends.
Mm-hmm. So what impact does this have on the Cancer Association? Obviously, it costs money to keep your services running. You have more patients coming in now. What impact does this have on you?
This obviously has a huge impact on our financing model. In the past, when we had 12, 15 beds with few cancer cases reporting through to Windhoek for treatment, we could accommodate free. We could give everything for free. But at this stage, we have about 35 beds that are occupied, and we have a nominal donation fee that we ask from our patients to help cover the expenses of keeping our doors open. $250 per night is not a lot of money. This is accommodation, 3 meals a day, as well as transportation. And this is what we ask if they are truly financially vulnerable Namibians who cannot afford this, as our state patients, rural pensioners, then we do have the financial assistance program at the Cancer Association. But we have found that Namibians see the urgency of it, and if they cannot make the full donation fee, we'll sometimes have farmers that say, can I donate a sheep or bring vegetables with? The children would say, can we make a donation? It might not be the full, but we want to contribute because you're looking after our family member. So it's all about being transparent and working together and saying, how can we all work together to make it better for our patients? So yes, the financing model must be adapted and a new approach adopted. We have got staff that need to work over weekends now. We need to comply with the labor law. We need to ensure that we work the ascribed and the contracted hours as well. So we do hope that Namibians out there will see the urgency of this matter and also support the Cancer Association greater, especially House Acacia, our interim home, where we need to now work 7 days a week and sleep those 30 to 35 people every night.
Namibian Sun leads us into the newspaper review segment on the other side of this.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouth-watering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
Let's take a look at what's inside today's daily newspapers, starting off with the Namibian Sun's front page, which reports Swapo lawyers yesterday wrote to the Landless People's Movement-dominated Kara's Regional Council demanding the reversal of the dismissal of 3 Swapo councillors. 3 constituency councillors, Lazarus Nangolo, Susan Njaleka, and Taimi Amakali, were sacked from the council last week amid a squabble for positions in the management committee, all members of the Swapo party. The trio represented the Oranjemund, Ngami Nguz, and Karasburg West constituencies, respectively. On to the paper's page 3, the Information, Communication and Technology Ministry is taking proactive steps to address the cost of data in Namibia. This according to Deputy Minister Emma Theophilus, who said mobile operators have introduced packages that give citizens access to more data for the same price as in the past. We are taking proactive steps in this direction through our 26 rural ICT centers. Therefore, citizens should anticipate experiencing the result of these changes in this year of expectations. Speaking at an annual ministry staff meeting, she also addressed developments in safeguarding Namibia from cybercrime. In 2022, Namibia recorded over 2.7 million cyber attacks. Hackers steal people's data and use it for their benefit. They further damage the reputations of institutions. Moving over to the Republicans' front page, in the run-up to International Cancer Day, which is celebrated on Sunday, the chief executive of the Cancer Society of Namibia, Rolf Hansen, says that cancer treatments must be decentralized to serve the majority of Namibians more efficiently. The decentralization of cancer care will be a highlight for all of us. It will make our work so much easier. The reality is more than 60% of our country's population lives north of Oshwarongo, so we have to sit around the table somewhere and ask ourselves why we are sending busloads of people to Windhoek when we can use Oshakati, Onanjokwe, Tsumeb, Rundu and Katima Mulilo to keep the people in the north and treat them efficiently there. Then they don't have to be so far and long from their families. That's the next step, he said. On to Republicans, page 3. In the trial of 2 men accused of the murder of an elderly couple in 2018, one of the accused girlfriends testified in court this week. The accused apparently told her that they ambushed Brunhild Riedel, who was 66, and killed Armin Siegfried Riedel, who was 68. The Riedel couple were murdered on their farm Groenveld in the Gobabes area, and the farmhouse was burned down with their bodies inside. Loretta Horses testified in the High Court in Windhoek on Monday that one of the accused, Bernardus Afrikaner, told her that he hid in the kitchen while the old woman was busy closing the chickens. When she entered the kitchen, he grabbed her and allegedly dragged her into the bedroom where he sexually assaulted her. He allegedly threatened his co-accused Salathiel Uneb with a firearm and forced him to rape her as well. Moving over to the Allgemeine Zeitung's front page, the idea of setting up a national pension fund keeps coming up. From a legal point of view, the Social Insurance Commission should have dealt with this long ago, but the idea repeatedly fails due to public opposition, especially as it puts pressure on a functioning insurance industry. Not even the type and form of the fund has been decided. Onto the Allgemeine Zeitung's page 3, a friend of one of the two defendants claims that he told her what had happened on the day of the murder and what they had done to the two murdered senior citizens. One defendant forced the other to commit an atrocity. After the break, we'll continue with more newspaper review. Do stay with NMH at 1.
Neo Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Still with our newspaper review, onto the Namibian's front page, it reads, Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform Executive Director Ndiyakupi Ngitwa Mata has defended the ministry's stance on the land tax policies, maintaining that they are not discriminatory but rather a constitutional response to historic injustices. On to page 3, High Court Judge Orban Sibeya will in about 2 weeks' time give a ruling on the appointment of new curators to administrators, to administer the assets of accused in the Fish Road fishing quotas fraud and corruption case that have been placed under a restraint order. Onto the New Era's front page, the Ohangwena Regional Council is investigating the disappearance of $139,772 Namibian meant for flood victims in the region. Ohangwena Chief Regional Officer Philippus Shilongo said the funds were donated to the Ohangwena Regional Council by the Road Fund Administration last year when most parts of the region were engulfed by heavy floods, which destroyed livelihoods and disrupted educational activities. When we approached the RFA and requested our funds, we were told that the money had been paid to a different account. After someone went to request the money, he told New Era upon inquiry earlier this week. Onto the New Era's page 3, Iceland has recorded its worst ever corruption ranking according to Transparency International latest Corruption Perceptions Index, due to, among other reasons, its citizens' involvement in the Fish Road corruption scheme in Namibia. The Nordic nation dropped 2 points in the CPI for 2023 from the previous year, garnering 72 out of 100 possible points. Iceland has lost 6 points in the last 5 years and 10 points in the past decade. Iceland stands significantly apart from other Nordic countries in the index. Denmark scored the highest as it did the previous year. The Transparency International statement reads, Iceland is among the 23 countries receiving historically poor ratings this year. On to Market Watch. Namibia has been unable to improve its score on Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index for the 3rd year in a row. Namibia's score on the global watchdog's latest index again is 49 out of a possible 100, with 100 being a country which is corruption-free. The 2023 Corruption Perception Index, released on Tuesday, groups Namibia with 2/3 of 180 countries surveyed worldwide, which scored below 50. Namibia is also part of the 90% of 49 surveyed African countries with a score of less than 50. Namibia remains at the same level as in 2014, when it also scored 49. After the break, we'll be getting into our economic news. To stay with NMH at 1.
Hi, Kambaripa.
Hi, Melissa.
You look upset. Is everything okay?
A healthcare worker refused to attend to me because I visited the healthcare facility without a guardian.
Healthcare workers are not allowed to do that. This sounds like a job for your shield of survival.
Huh?
Your rights, they're your superpowers. Your shield of survival is your right to life, health, nutrition, shelter, and an adequate standard of living.
For more information, contact the Children's Advocate Namibia in the Office of the Ombudsman on 061 20 73 111. Send us an SMS on 20401. SMS costs 40 cents. You can also send us a message via our Facebook page. Remember, the services of the Children's Advocate are free of charge.
Vivendi's opens new tab Canal Plus has submitted an offer to acquire South African pay TV company Multichoice Group. Opens new tab, the company said in a statement on Thursday. Canal Plus, which is a major shareholder in the group with a 31.67% stake, according to LSEG data, said it will pay a cash consideration of 105 rand per Multichoice ordinary share and is also aiming to obtain a listing in South Africa. It said the offer represents a 40% premium to Multichoice closing share price of 75 rand on Wednesday. For Multichoice to continue to thrive in Africa, it will require a strategy that enhances its scales as well as strengthen local and global expertise. Our potential offer, if successful, would be an important next step for Multichoice to realize its full potential, Maxime Sada, chairman and CEO of Canal Plus, said in a statement. Now, Sada added that Multichoice would have the resources to invest in scale local African talent and stories and technology to allow it to grow in Africa and compete with global streaming media giants. Let's take a look at our economic indicators. The Namibian dollar trades against the British pound at 23.59, against the euro at 20.16, against the US dollar at 18.68. 2 Namibian dollars and 60 cents gets you 1 Chinese yuan. On the Namibia Stock Exchange, First Rand Namibia went up at 6.10%. Overall index went up at 0.58% and local index also went up at 1.30%. On the commodities market, gold, copper and platinum went down while Brent crude oil went up, trading at 0.63%, going for $81.43 per barrel. Zambia's ex-president has called for early elections. Stick around for news from Africa after this. Zambia's former president Edgar Lungu has asked citizens to call for an early election, accusing his successor Hakainde Hichilema, popularly known as HH, of failing to run the economy. Lungu also accuses President Hichilema of failing to manage the cholera outbreak, which has claimed the lives of nearly 600 people in the country since October last year. Speaking at an opposition media briefing on Wednesday, Lungu said Zambians should put pressure on the president to accept that an early election was imperative. If you Zambians demand that we call upon HH to resign and call for an early election, let's go that route, but it should come from you, Lungu said. But in a swift response, the government spokesperson Cornelius Mwita dismissed Lungu's allegations and urged Zambians to give the president enough time to deliver his campaign promises. Mwita accused the former leader of ruining the country's economy during his 6 years in office. Now, Doctors Without Borders announced on Wednesday that it had begun a mass vaccination campaign against hepatitis E in South Sudan, where an outbreak of the deadly disease is threatening pregnant women in particular. Now, at least 19 people have died from the disease, which is usually spread through contaminated drinking water in the country's flood-hit northern Fankak County since April, the aid group said in a statement. But the death toll could be higher as years of flooding have turned the region's villages into islands, forcing residents to use canoes to travel and cutting them off from the nearest hospital, it added. Now, after the break, we'll be getting into our international news. Do stay with NMH at 1.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
Sri Lanka's draconian law to regulate online content has come into force in a move rights group says is aimed at stifling freedom of speech. The Online Safety Act gives Government Commission broad powers to access and remove prohibited content. Authorities said it would help fight cybercrime, but critics say it surpasses dissent ahead of elections. Now, social media had a key role in protests during an economic crisis in 2022, which ousted the then president. The act was passed on the 24th of January by 108 to 62 votes, sparking protests outside Parliament, and came into effect on Thursday after the Speaker endorsed it. After the break, we'll be getting into our sports news. To stay with NMH at 1.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraika. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and
Now, the mood at the Hosea Kutako International Airport was exhilarating as Namibians showed up in numbers to show love and support to the Tafel Lager Brave Warriors after they got knocked out of the AFCON 23 tournament by Angola. The team made history at the Africa Cup of Nations, winning their first ever game at the tournament and advancing to the round of 16. Namibia Football Association President Robert Shimoshili, who was with the Brave Warriors from the start of the tournament, was the first to share his excitement excitement and pride for the team that proved doubters wrong. Now moving on to our next story, local boxing sensation Philippe's Energy Ngitumbwa is set to cement his position as Namibia's super bantamweight champion by stepping into the ring against China's Zhong Lui in March. The bout, scheduled for the 23rd of March at Ramatex in Windhoek, will see Ngitumbwa via for the WBO regional super bantamweight title in a 12-round showdown. Boasting an impressive record of 15 wins and 2 losses out of 17 fights, Ngitumbwa, representing the MTC Nestor Sunshine Tobias Boxing and Fitness Academy, faces off against Liu, who brings his own formidable record of 19 wins and 1 loss from 20 fights. After this short break, we'll be getting into our international sports news. Do stay with NMH at 1. Premier League leaders Liverpool stepped up their title bid with a 4-1 rout of Chelsea, while Erling Haaland made his Manchester City comeback as the champions beat Burnley 3-1 on Wednesday. Jurgen Klopp's shock revelation that he will step down as Liverpool's boss at the end of the season has done nothing to stop the momentum of a team challenging for silverware in 4 competitions. The Reds crushed Norwich 5-2 in the FA Cup 4th round on Sunday and were equally ruthless when Chelsea visited Anfield for the second game of Klopp's long goodbye. After the break, we'll be getting into our highlights.
We are all seeking connection to each other, to the world, to the spaces we exist in.
Poor sportsmanship right now from the lads.
You might be physically ready, your body is ready, but mentally.
Here's another chance, and it is a goal from Vivendi.
Hij zei, wie is er aan neertrekken? Hij bal lijkt mij grond gevat. Ja, hij grond gevat. En dan zie.
But just enough next.
Shh. Running that mountain up. Right, so we will be doing this for the mountain climber. More advanced, slightly advanced.
So is jou trolley reg? Want
I love that. I love that. So then
we kickstart our countdown at number 5 with this one.
Op Netwerk TV se Klets Kompas gesels ons nuus van 'n Maandag tot Donderdag. Ons kyk ook na die weer en meer. Stories wat jou raak en stories wat saak maak.
They've made a mistake in denying me bail, and they've made several other mistakes in many other cases.
The channels that teach us something new or reflect our expression. So it goes beyond switching to the right station. It's about choosing the experience that can adorn the present, dressing it with our tastes as we expand our preferences, because what we are actually connecting to is boundless, limitless human energy. And this is the spirit of NTV.
Let's take a look at the news highlights from today's broadcast. Zambia's former President Edgar Lungu has asked citizens to call for an early election, accusing his successor Hakainde Hichilema of failing to run the economy. Sri Lanka's draconian law to regulate online content has come into force in a move rights groups say is aimed at stifling freedom of speech. Local boxing sensation Philippe's Energy Ngitumbwa is set to cement his position as Namibia's super bantamweight champion by stepping into the ring against China's Zhong Lui in March. And with that, we've come to the end of the broadcast. Thank you for joining us on this lunchtime news broadcast. From me, Glenn Rashipura, until next time.